Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Time. Happy Friday. In retrospect, Joe Biden's first-term